Hello and welcome to Breakfast for Pancakes. I'm your host, PK Sullivan. Today we are going rustic Italian and I'm going to show you my recipe for chicken cacciatore. Stick around. Chicken cacciatore translates to hunter's chicken. From my understanding, it's a dish that the hunters in Italy would cook while they were out in the field using the fowl that they had hunted and a few ingredients that they either foraged or brought with them. It's a simple dish of braised chicken legs with onions, peppers, mushrooms, and herbs, all braised in a tomato sauce. It's simple but delicious. Cooked properly, the chicken is fall apart tender, everything is just full of flavor, and it pairs well with either pasta or what I'm going to do today, a homemade bread, just so that we can soak up the sauce as we eat it. Stick around, it's going to be great. What you'll need for this dish is chicken legs, mushrooms, an onion, red bell pepper, garlic, dry white wine, canned whole peeled tomatoes, bay leaves, thyme, rosemary, sage, and basil. I bought chicken leg quarters, so they need to be split before I start cooking. These legs are pretty big and actually have quite a bit of fat on them. Normally I would trim these down, removing extra skin like this big flap here, but since I'm not serving the skin, I'm just gonna leave it. The fat will render out of the skin while the skin itself will brown and stick to the pan, developing fond. Both of these will contribute lots of flavor to the final dish. To separate a chicken leg into a thigh and a drum, locate the line of fat that runs at an angle over the joint. Cut through the skin and meat following that angle down to the joint. Make sure you're lined up over the middle of it and just push through the cartilage. This shouldn't take much pressure, don't force it. Veggies! Trim and peel your onion, then slice it thin. I don't worry about slicing it French style here. Slicing it horizontally works just fine for my purposes. The important thing is to make sure your slices are all fairly even in width. Lop off the ends of your bell pepper, then core out the seeds and pith. Again, slice this thin. The veggies will get sweated out and then cooked in a braising liquid. They don't need to be perfect looking. Go ahead and put the peppers in a bowl with your sliced onions. Garlic. Trim off the hard bases of the garlic and peel your cloves. Then, you guessed it, slice them thinly. There's a bit of a theme here. On to the mushrooms. Trim off the bases, cut them in half, and then slice them thinly. If you want to do the Hollywood super fast chop, mushrooms are the ideal food to use since they're so soft, yet maintain a good structure. A good sharp knife practically falls through them and they hold together. Practice slowly, building up speed. Be safe. This is kind of dangerous because you're flicking a knife around pretty quick, but it's also the one party trick I have in my pocket for hosting. Once they're all sliced up, scoop them into a bowl for later. Set a colander in a bowl and drain the tomatoes. Set the liquid off to the side and empty the tomatoes into another large bowl. Then crush the tomatoes with your bare hands. I like to poke a hole in each one first so I don't end up squirting tomato juice across the whole kitchen. Not that I learned that lesson the hard way or anything. You don't have to be too precious about this. The tomatoes will break down some as they cook for a long time. Just get them smashed up into pieces. Lastly, take back 120 ml, half a cup, of the tomato juice. Discard the rest. Set an oven rack to the lowest position and preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Set a large Dutch oven on the stove over medium-high heat. Let it get up to searing temperature, about 350 to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and add half the chicken skin side down. We want to brown the skin, develop a fond, and render fat out from the skin. Bear with me on this part of the cook, it's not the best. I tried using the center burner for a better visual, but found it really doesn't have the power to do what I needed it to do here. I'll reposition in a bit, but only after I do a pretty poor job of getting a sear on this chicken skin. Oh well, it was still tasty. Once all your chicken has been browned, pull it out of the pot and add your mushrooms. Here's the thing about mushrooms, they're basically sponges. All that chicken fat you've got in the pan, it's going to get soaked up right quick. It's fine though, just let them cook a few minutes and the cell walls will start to break down. This will make them shrink and expel liquid, starting with the moisture that was already in them. This is where you can start to scrape up the fond at the bottom of the pan. Don't let it burn. Once the mushrooms start taking on color, you know that they've expelled the fat and have started frying. Add a bit of olive oil followed by the peppers and onions. Get those mixed in and everything coated with oil. Give the pan a good pinch of salt to help the veggies give up their moisture. Maybe a few nice grinds of black pepper too. Continue to saute until the peppers and onions have sweated and reduced in volume by about half. Stir in the garlic and let it cook until fragrant, 2 to 3 minutes. Add the wine and let it cook off. Should only take a minute or two. Once the alcohol has been cooked off, add the tomatoes and reserved juice. Stir everything together and really deglaze the pan while you've got the opportunity. Scrape up any fond that's stuck in the pot. It's pure flavor and you want it in the sauce. Bring that all to a simmer and add your herbs. No mincing, no chopping, just add the whole herbs. We'll be removing these herbs before serving, so if you don't want any rosemary leaves left behind, use a sachet. Lastly, nestle all your chicken pieces into the sauce. Cover the pot and put it in the oven for 90 minutes. After 90 minutes, remove the cacciatore from the oven. Strap on your barbecue gloves and get to work shredding. Remove the chicken from the pot and discard the bulk herbs. They've done their work. To shred the chicken, pull off and discard the skin, then gently peel away the cooked chicken from the bone. Be sure to feel the pieces as you work with them. This is especially important on the drumsticks, but there are a lot of tendons at the skinny end. Just pinch those off, they aren't good eating. Once all the chicken has been added to the pot, give it a good stir and move it back to the stove. Bring the pot up to a boil and reduce it to a simmer. How long you simmer here is up to you. Reducing the liquid will make it more concentrated and flavorful, but you'll have less of it. If you wanted to add a thickening agent, like a cornstarch slurry or a roux, this would be the time. I personally don't see the need to do that. A thin tomato broth works just fine in cacciatore, but you do you. One last step before serving is to skim off extraneous fat from the cacciatore. Tilt your pot to one side and use a large shallow spoon to skim the fat off the top. Some fat is okay, but this shouldn't be a greasy dish. Now you're ready to serve. Ladle the cacciatore into a bowl and grab some fresh bread to soak up the sauce. It's the next day. My wife and I had some cacciatore for dinner last night. Today and for the rest of the week, the leftover cacciatore is my lunches. I couldn't be more excited. This is one of my favorite Italian dishes, so super excited to be eating well for lunches all week. Just like any stew or a good lasagna, cacciatore gets better the next day because the flavors have all had a time to just hang out and chill and meld together. Let's give it a shot. That chicken is so tender and packed with flavor. Richness from the bones and the chicken fat make this warm, hearty, filling meal without being too heavy, without being overpowering. You get lots of herb. I mean, we put a lot of herbs in there. The mushrooms give it an earthy umami kick that would otherwise be missing. This isn't a beef dish. You're not going to be getting big beefy flavor. So if you really want a strong, earthy, meaty taste, add your mushrooms. The peppers and onions basically fall apart as soon as you eat them. Get some good bread. I've got some toast here. Use that to soak up the liquid. Absolutely love chicken cacciatore. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. What's your favorite Italian dish? Maybe I'll cook it on the channel. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.